Whether you're a veteran reader or a newcomer to the medium, every visual novel reader will have certain titles that belong to specific categories, such as a visual novel that you bought because of social media, a title that you bought but is forever sitting on the backlog, that one nostalgic title that started it all, and even a favorite author whose works that you'll always buy. Hi, my name is August, and today I'm going to go through a couple of my visual novels that I read that fit this criteria, plus a couple of more, in the hopes that maybe you'll be influenced to read some of these interesting titles. First off, a visual novel that you bought because of social media. And for me, that's You and Me and Her, or Totsuno. This game is easily the best blind buy I've ever made. The only thing I knew going into this was that it was a Nitro Plus title, a studio with a solid track record, and that one of the main translators wouldn't stop praising it online. That was just enough for me to take the plunge. What I got in return was something completely unique, a surreal, meta-genre bending romance story that just blew my mind. It's the kind of experience where the less you know, the better. Trust me when I say this, it's very much worth it. But for some people, it was just this picture of this quirky girl that sold it for them. Really, sometimes it's not the game announcements or characters or even the premise that sell you on a visual novel, but rather it's just that one unhinged post that makes you think, okay, what the hell is this game even about? And in my eyes, right now, that's Tsubihime or Wonderful Everyday Down the Rabbit Hole. I've already read this a long time ago, but nowadays it's a very popular topic among VN communities online. Whether it be on TikTok or X, formerly known as Twitter, there's always people talking about this title, either seriously or ironically. Mostly the latter though. Whether it's shitpost memes, people cosplaying Yuki with a passionate amount of commitment, deep analytical writings, or discussions about how messed up the story is, Tsubihime kind of became this cult phenomenon, which is very funny given the actual story. Tsubihime is a very strange psychological horror visual novel to begin with, one that kind of messes with your head a bit. While some will come into it ironically and meme on it, they'll come out of it having the most surreal reading experience ever, and yet obtain life-affirming messages from it too. And lastly, I would like to give a special shout out to Black Souls, because I just keep seeing fan art of Black Souls on my feed. I'm fully aware it's one interesting game, an Arrow RPG that apparently acts like a Souls-like game from what I've heard online. But what really did me in was just this one picture, alright? In general, thanks social media for the psychological damage. Wouldn't have it any other way. Next up, a title that you bought but is sitting forever on the backlog. You ever just see a title on sale and you pick it up thinking, I'm gonna read this, I've heard this is really good, and then it just kind of sits there, waiting to be opened? For me, that is the Muv-Luv series. I actually bought Muv-Luv years ago during one of those big series sales on Steam. The deals were just super good, I couldn't just not pick it up. And Muv-Luv wasn't just any title, it's a classic, practically a rite of passage for VN readers. But despite two separate attempts to read it, it's still unfinished. I haven't even beat Muv-Luv Extra yet, thanks to two reasons. One, Extra itself. As charming as it tries to be, I just couldn't get past the common route for the longest time. It just wasn't pulling me in, and I wasn't a big fan of the humor in it too. The second time, just plain bad timing. Every time I would try to give it another shot, some other new release would pop up and catch my attention. But I still haven't given up. I plan to go back, for real this time, because I know past Extra and Unlimited, Alternative is the real reason why Muv-Luv has the reputation it does. Muv-Luv Alternative isn't just good, it's known as legendary. It's often cited as one of the most critically acclaimed visual novels of all time, a masterclass in emotional storytelling, high-stakes drama, and the inspiration behind so many other works, even outside of visual novels. I'll get there, even if it just takes a little bit longer. Next up, that one nostalgic title that started it all. And honestly, for many people, it's an iconic classic. Perhaps for a very scarring reason. Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. My first introduction to Higurashi was through the Studio Dean anime adaptation. I was in the mood to see the most popular horror anime, which at the time was Higurashi. This was when I was still a newbie to anime. I had only watched Sword Art Online, Angel Beats, and a couple of others at the time. I didn't really know what to expect, and and my god, it certainly scarred me from the very beginning of the anime to the hospital bed scene at the end of Arc 2 to even the fingernail scene, which still makes me wince whenever I see it. Regardless, I still really enjoyed the show. Sure, the art style might be controversial to some, but I'm still a firm believer that it actually added to the contrast and eventual horrific moments later on. Many years later, I discovered that Higurashi's original source was a visual novel, and I picked it up to see what I missed out on. And oh boy, was it one hell of a read. It fleshed out character dynamics and created a stronger emotional connection to the characters, which in turn made the drama and horror segments even more tense and packed full of emotion. All as Higurashi's top-notch sound design greatly added to the atmosphere. I'm very much thankful that I eventually went back to read the original visual novel. It was definitely worth it. And now, the next category that every visual novel reader has. A somewhat controversial title. Every fan has that title, the okay, hear me out visual novel. So I wanted to spotlight one particular infamous one. People who read this either think it's the worst romance story ever put to screen, or an ironic masterpiece in dramatic chaos. And that's School Days. School Days is a name that comes with baggage, as probably the most destructive high school romance love triangle. School Days isn't just any romance visual novel. Depending on the route you take, things can go from awkward and melodramatic to absolutely unhinged at light speed. This also includes the infamous anime ending that the real OGs will remember this B-roll footage of this nice boat. In some scenarios, our main character Makoto will somehow manage to make very terrible decisions, often fueled by pure indecision and very unchecked hormones. And it's how he ends up at the end of the story that makes School Days worth it. Good ending, or horrifying bad ending. For me personally, I do think School Days normally is kind of a boring romance drama that leans too hard on shock value and its characters being unlikable people. So the only way I found it entertaining was to play the game where Makoto was as self-destructive as possible, ending on those quote-unquote bad endings. Really, I can't deny it. School Days was memorable for sure. Next category, a title that you got for super cheap, because sometimes you come across a deal that you just have to buy because of how big the discount was. For me, that was the Somnium Files. I snagged it for about $5. That's a pretty damn good deal. At that price point, even if I didn't end up liking it, it was no big deal. Now, I'll be honest, I actually don't know a ton about the Somnium Files. All I know is about it's a guy named Date who, according to pretty much everyone on the internet, is a very unique individual. The vibes I'm getting from him is like a very serious investigator and yet absolute chaos gremlin at the same time, which to me sounds like a ride. From what I do know, the Somnium Files is a sci-fi murder mystery, and given how it's popular enough to get a sequel and an additional game, I figured why not check it out. Sci-fi murder mysteries are pretty rare, so that's points in its favor too. And now, on the opposite side, a title that you spent way too much money on. For me, I dropped a pretty hefty amount for Full Metal Demon Muramasa. Now, Muramasa isn't just any visual novel. It's one of the most critically acclaimed titles out there, a dark, philosophical epic wrapped in samurai mech action. It's intense, it's haunting, it's thought-provoking, and it's the kind of story that lingers with you long after you finish it. I liked it so much that I ended up buying the special collector's edition box from Jast, and it's pretty damn special. It includes a exclusive game disc, a cool art book, a vinyl record, and even a happy coat. Now, in general, unless you're in Japan, getting visual novel merchandise can be difficult to get. It also doesn't help that exclusive limited versions of most VN merch is basically, once it's gone forever. Case in point, this limited edition 10th anniversary game box of Aokana that I picked up recently. It's the kind of stuff that you either buy now or resign yourself to scouring secondhand markets later at double or even triple the price, if you can even find it at all. That's why when English localized collector's editions pop up, they're worth grabbing if you're a fan of the work. It's also super helpful for the publishers too. In general, buying VN merch if you can means directly supporting the creators and publishers who keep this medium alive. Every purchase helps fund future visual novel translations, new game projects, and shows that there's real demand for it. Did I spend way too much money? Perhaps, but honestly, I am fine with that. And finally, the last category for something every visual novel reader has, a favorite author whose VN they'll always buy. For me, it's one of the greatest and well-known visual novel authors / creatives out there, Kinoko Nasu. Whether it's Fate Stay Night, Tsukihime, Witch on the Holy Night, or some other work, every single one of Nasu's titles has been a standout reading experience. There's something about the way he builds his stories, densely layered with expansive lore, magic, and inner universe knowledge, that just ends up being a small part of his massive world. And yet, I find the greatest appeal in his characters. All of them have this layered complexity, really breaking down the core driving force of those individuals, which also connects to Nasu's wide wider idealism about humanity and the strength of humans themselves. Pair that together with Nasu's prose writing and it just feels good to read. The way he blends world atmosphere, character introspection, and hype action is something I honestly don't think anyone else quite replicates. Even for Fate Grand Order, a title in which most VN readers aren't the most excited about, I'm still there, reading. The reason why I've stuck with this game for so long, despite the outdated gameplay mechanics and ruthless gacha gambling system, is because of the main story updates. It's a pretty much drop everything moment whenever a new main story chapter is out, especially if it's him writing the scenario. Fate Stay Night, Tsukihime Remake, and Witch on the Holy Night have been fantastic reading experiences. Really, whatever this man makes, I am there for it. Now, let me know what visual novel titles you have that fit these categories. I'm curious to see your experiences. I would also like to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting me in covering visual novels. You guys are fantastic, and if you'd like to be a part of that effort, please consider subscribing. Now, if you're interested in my specific taste in visual novels, favorites I would highly recommend, check out these videos over here.